In this lecture, we're going to be learning about implicit data conversions. And these are conversions that happen without your involvement. They are going to be inserted in by the compiler. In an ideal world, we would have something like this. All the operands in our expression should be of the same type. They should either be int or double or whatever type it is you are working with. But the real world doesn't work like this. We have a situation like this where types are really mixed up. And when the compiler notices that we have different types, it is going to insert implicit conversions on your types. And for example here, all the ints will be converted to double. The reason it's going to do that is because the conversions are always going to go from the smaller types to the bigger type in memory size. And int occupied 4 bytes in memory and the double occupies 8 bytes in memory. So the conversion is going to be going from int to double, and only when all the variables are of the same type will the expression here be evaluated. Okay, implicit conversions are conversions that are done by the compiler without your involvement. And by you, I mean the developer. Here is a simple example of what we might have in real code. We have a variable of double type, and the name is price, and we have another variable called units. The type is int. Here we have an expression that is going to mix these things up, and what is going to happen here when the compiler is evaluating what we have here to the right of the equal sign, it's going to notice that the price is of double type and units is of int type. And we have seen that all the variables in an expression should be really of the same type. That's how the compiler works. So what it's going to do, it's going to take whatever variable is smaller in memory size and is going to transform that to the type that is bigger in memory size. And here it's going to take an int and turn that to a double. And when that's done, then it's going to carry out the operation we want to do here. It's going to do multiplication. And the result of that is going to be assigned to the total price here. So if we had an auto type deduction here, for example, if we don't have double here, we have auto. The type we deduce should be auto because the expression to the right here is going to evaluate to a double type. And we're going to try this out when we get in Visual Studio Code. So the total price we print here is going to be a double, and we can prove that by looking at its size using the size of operator we have in here. Here is a simple guideline I came up with to try and help you out in understanding how these conversions happen. If we have int and long, conversion is going to go from int to long, for example. If we have int and double, conversion is going to go from int to double. And the basic idea is that conversions happen from the type which is smaller in memory size to the type which is bigger or larger in memory size. Another kind of implicit conversion that can be done is what happens when you do an assignment. For example, here we have an integer variable called x, we have a double variable called y, and if we do x equals y, in other words, we are assigning y to x. And if these two happen to be of different types, the conversion is going to go from double to int. And this is going to be a narrowing conversion because the decimal points are going to be chopped off and we are only going to save 45 in our int variable. So when you are doing an assignment like this, implicit conversions happen from the type you have to the right of the assignment to the type you have on the left of the assignment. And in this case, again, we are going to go from double to int, and it is going to be a narrowing conversion. Okay, I think we have talked about enough. It is time we went to Visual Studio Code and actually tried these things out. Here we are in our working folder. We are going to be working on this project, Implicit Data Conversions. We're going to copy our template project as we always do. We're going to put that in and we're going to go up and open this up in Visual Studio Code pretty quick. We're going to open up our main CPP file and we're going to take out whatever it is we don't need. We are going to go down here and put in the code we want to play with, and notice that I have left in this comment on purpose to really help you understand what is happening here. We have two variables. One is of double type, the other is of integer type, and we have an expression here that is going to mix up these two things. the compiler is going to notice that price is of double type and units is an int. And what it's going to do, it's going to figure out a way to make these two types the same type. And it is going to transform from the smaller type to the bigger type. And in this case, it's going to turn this into a double expression. And the result is going to be assigned to our total price here. So if we print things out, we're going to see the result here, but the type is going to be double, and we're going to see a size of 8 here. That's what we expect. If we bring up our terminal, because we want to be able to try things out here, we're going to run the task to build with GCC 10. And if we run our app called Rooster here, we're going to see that the total price is 456. But the size of total price is 8, which is what we expect a double to take up in our memory. Now, what could happen if we didn't explicitly say that this is a double and we just want to do auto type deduction? What would be the type of total price here? Let's try this out. We're going to run the task to build again, and the build is going to go through. And if we run this again, notice that the compiler is going to deduce a type of double, which is going to be 8 bytes in memory, because this thing has been already converted to a double expression. In other words, our int variable here is going to be implicitly converted to double. So let's say that here. Okay, you should really know and understand this. And this is really all there is to implicit conversions. The compiler is going to notice that you have different types in your expression. It is going to figure out in which direction it's going to go. And the general rule is that it is going to transform from the smaller type to the larger type. So your expression is going to be of the larger type, and the result is going to be assigned to whatever variable in which you are collecting the result. The exception to this rule is when you are doing an assignment, and we're going to look at this next. Let's go down and put in our test code here, and we're going to do an implicit conversion with an assignment. Here we have two variables, one x, the other y. One is an int, the other is a double. And we are doing an assignment from the double type to the int type. So the rule here is a little different, and the conversion is going to go from the type you have on the right of the assignment to the type you have on the left of the assignment here. In other words, we are going to go from double to int in this type, and this is different from what we had before here. So if we print this out, we're going to see the value of x, and it is basically going to be 45 because this is a narrowing conversion, and the things after the decimal points are going to be chopped off, and we're going to save whatever it is we can store in an integer type. And we're going to have a 45 printed out here. That's what we're going to have. And if we print out its size, we should see a 4 because an integer takes up 4 bytes on my system here. Let's build and see if this is actually what is going to happen. We are going to run this up, and the value of x is 45, which is what we expect, and the size of this is 4 bytes in memory. This is really what is meant by implicit conversions. It is conversions that happen without your involvement. They are going to be done by the compiler whenever it notices that you have different types in your expression. And when you're not doing assignments, conversions are going to happen from the smaller type to the larger type. And if you're doing an assignment, conversions are going to go from what you have to the right of the assignment to what you have on the left of the assignment. And you need to be careful and see that you don't have narrowing conversions, and do whatever it is you need to do in your application. And that's going to be decided by whatever logic you want to implement in your application. This is all we set out to do in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. We are going to stop here. In the next lecture, we're going to look at explicit data conversions. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.